book or a movie interesting when you read it? Is it a setting that takes you to a magical place? Is it an evil villain that brings a sense of darkness? Maybe it's a silly character that always makes you laugh. Chances are that it was the well thought out plot that made your favorite book or movie unforgettable. Plot is the sequence of events that takes place in a text or a story. It can be tricky to identify a plot line in a long text due to the tremendous amount of detail. Think about a thunderstorm. There are several different parts of a thunderstorm. Let's take a look at how a storm can help us think about and identify the plot line of a story. The first part of a thunderstorm consists of sun and a few clouds. It becomes quiet, but there is tension in the air. This is similar to the first part of the plot, the description. The description is where the author sets the stage. Characters and setting are described. Typically, nothing problematic or exciting is happening at this point in the text. Next, the clouds begin to gather. The wind picks up and the sky starts to darken. In a plot line, this would be called the rising action. The rising action is the part of the plot where the action begins to build and the plot starts to intensify. There may be an evident problem that starts to occur and the characters realize it. The next part of the thunderstorm is, you guessed it, thunder, and with thunder comes lightning. This crazy part of the plot is called the climax. The climax is where the problem is the strongest. The reader is unsure of how everything will turn out. This is the most intense part. Think about what happens after the most powerful part of the storm. The storm begins to slow, but rain still falls. And there may still be some thunder and maybe even a little bit of lightning. This part of the plot is called the falling action. The falling action is where the worst of the problem is over. The characters begin to solve the problem during this part of the plot. Last, the clouds begin to break, the sun begins to shine, the storm is over. This last part of the plot is called the resolution. The problem begins to clear up, and characters begin to experience a sense of calmness. Often, there are still consequences from the conflict. Let's take a look at a portion of one of Roald Dahl's most famous novels and intriguing plot lines.
Chapter 18 starts off with James and the insects peacefully sitting on the beach eating. This would be the description. Next, the creatures and James start to see suspicious shapes in the water. They are unsure of what they see in the water. This is the rising action. Suddenly, the characters realize that the shapes in the water are sharks. There's panic. The insects all turn to James for a solution. You guessed right, this is the climax. James comes up with a clever plan to save his friends. He uses the resources around him. There's a sense of relief because of his plan. This is the falling action. Last, the peach begins to float away from the sharks due to James's brilliant plan that involves the seagulls. The problem has been resolved, so this is the resolution.
Remember that the different parts of a thunderstorm can help you identify plot. As you read the next part of the story, see if you can find the 5 elements of the plot.